Hi, and welcome back to Mindfulness, the channel where we try and open up a conversation about mental health. Today, we are joined by Dr. Nanki Oberoi, a child, adolescent, and young people's psychiatrist and psychotherapist at Story Room by the Betty Oberoi Foundation. Dr. Oberoi attempts to combine her research skills with her experiences with child and human development, organizational development, education, and health. Thank you so much for joining us today, Doctor. Doctor, my first
Hi,
question.
Ananya. Thank you
Yeah,
for having me.
thank you. So, Doctor, my first question was, what is the difference between a psychologist, a psychotherapist, and a psychiatrist?
First and foremost, a psychiatrist is a medical doctor, so goes through medical training in terms of educational qualifications, like an MBBS, as we know it, or an MD.
Sure.
Before they specialize in psychiatry, the primary role of a psychiatrist tends to be to treat through medication. So they are authorized to diagnose as well as prescribe medications for mental health difficulties
Yeah,
to patients. Within that, there are specializations, of course, for child and adolescent psychiatry, vis-a-vis
right.
um, adult psychiatry. So the specializations go on. A psychologist and psychotherapist is not someone who is a medical doctor. There is a lot of overlap between a psychologist and a psychotherapist. And psychologist is a larger overarching term for anybody
Right.
who goes through a training in psychology, in the discipline of psychology, at undergraduate or sometimes postgraduate level, but typically it does begin at undergraduate level unless someone has possibly ventured into it at postgraduate level. So they go
Right.
through a psychology training, after which you can choose to go into the field of psychotherapy, which is treatment of mental health conditions, and then that requires you to undergo certain specialized trainings depending on what is your own desire and orientation to follow as a treatment specialist or as a clinician.
Yeah.
The other fields within psychology today, I mean, some people go into consumer psychology, there's organizational psychology. Organizational psychology typically is known as organizational behavior, and HR,
Yeah.
more popularly known as HR. So a psychologist is somebody who studies and understands human behavior,
Right.
and then might choose a given specialization or a field to apply those principles that they use. A psychotherapist is a type of psychologist who specifically works on treatment of mental health conditions with individuals and families. Again, within that, there could be children, adolescents, young adults, families, adults. There are
Yeah.
various types. So I hope that's clear.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Doctor. I think a lot of people are confused about that. Doctor, today, because of the pandemic, we're all stuck at home and we can't really go out. So, a lot of times, adolescents rely on their peers to talk to about their issues and all of those sort of things. But now we have no choice but to rely on our families. So, how can our families try and help adolescents?
That's a very good question. Adolescence typically is a very, very turbulent uh,
Yeah,
transition period that each of us go through. It's quite literally the in between from childhood to adulthood, and it begins with the onset of puberty, which are the biological changes, and as a result of that, get kick-started in our mind a number of psychological processes which can be extremely anxiety provoking, difficult, bring up a lot of your conflicts, like you said, that we want to be with our peers, so that there is an
right.
emphasis on your relationships outside the home. uh, you do go through a change in your relationship with your parents as well. So
Yeah,
it is that's how it's typically characterized. And the pandemic has definitely complicated further this the difficulties that might arise out of uh, a so-called normal adolescence period,
yeah,
because you don't have access to those peers who offer you safe spaces to vent, to talk to each other, to kind of figure out things together, to learn from each other. They're a major part of how you form your identity, and
Right.
they give you a sense of belongingness, a sense of containment as well. To just have those people around you. Being stuck at home with your families can be both. I think it's extremely difficult,
Yeah.
not just because you're an adolescent. It's difficult for everyone.
Right.
But yes, as an adolescent, you are the very, like we said, the very parents that you want to avoid, for example, are the
Yeah.
ones who are
Yeah.
in case. And in any case, parenting an adolescent is an extremely difficult transition for parents as well.
Right.
So the most important thing that I would say, and it sounds very simple, but it's really not all that simple. It's a very important skill, is to listen to each other, and to give each other the
Right.
space to think and to feel, to just be, to know that it's okay to have an off day, and to know that it's okay that my teenage is really struggling with struggling with online schooling, or struggling with the fact that he
Yeah.
misses his friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe ask the adolescent, how can we support you, because it must not be
Right.
easy. So acknowledgement of the fact that it's not easy, and just tolerating that sense of discomfort is a huge sense of modeling for them,
Yeah.
and thus
Yeah.
providing in the space that them then the space that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, doctor. So, doctor, with that being said, do you think that the pandemic should have any effect on how strict your parents are with you? Like, do you think that the rules for like sleeping on time and those sort of rules should be relaxed, or do you think that the strictness should stay the same?
I mean, we're now what, 7-8 months into this lockdown,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't see it changing. And the worst part about it is that the uncertainty is looming. I mean, we don't know when it's going to end. It could be a
Right.
year, it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years. And it's very important to keep in mind when we are talking about this uncertainty that, considering that we have no idea about the time frame and it's already been this long, that there's a lot that everybody's losing out on. I mean,
Yeah.
when children, young people did not bargain for this kind of schooling,
Yeah.
online
Yeah.
schooling. And there is, in the media, there is this huge celebration of digital schooling being a success and ed tech. And while it's great, I think it's so important that we're finding ways to innovate in a time of crisis, and acknowledge simultaneously
Yeah.
that there is a lot of digital exhaustion. There's digital exhaustion, there's emotional exhaustion, because there's no break from any of it. And
Right.
you're losing out on your time with friends, you're losing out on a normal school experience. For children going to university, they are, I mean, this
This
is,
is
you
the
definitely didn't
yeah.
bargain for this,
Yeah.
so it's extremely complicated. And the anxiety could be, I mean, all the feelings that are coming up could be manifesting in various ways. There could be changes in eating patterns, sleep patterns, mood. Like I said in the previous question, that it's important to acknowledge that, to
Yeah.
keep note of it. And I would not say that, not, let's just let it go haywire and be completely ignorant of these
Yeah.
changes or disturbances in your basic functions. But something I often find myself saying through this pandemic is that, please remember that we're all surviving, we're all not thriving. I mean,
Yeah.
no one's in, like, a get go mode.
Right.
Everyone is suffering. And use that as information to support each other. So
Yeah.
even within the house, uh, it's important to see how you can, within the rigidity of these restrictions, how you can be flexible around this. Like, is it that my child is not sleeping at all, or is it that maybe there's a change in sleep cycle, and he's sleeping, maybe he's making up his sleep for the rest, at other
Yeah.
times of the day. How it might be interrupting his time with the family, his time with his friends, his time in attending school, classes. So these are all important indicators, but the idea is to identify them and try to work with them rather than criticizing them and labeling them as wrong or
Yeah.
offenses of any kind. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's very important.
Yeah. So do you think that the pandemic, like, as you said, it's like we don't know how long it's going to last. We've all been home for 7, 8 months. So do you think that it'll end up having like a lasting effect on people's mental health? Like, do you think that there will be more germophobia, for instance?
I mean, absolutely. I would not. We live in a country where the dialogue around mental health has historically been rejected,
Yeah.
shut off. And it still continues to be. I mean, we are in a transition phase where, as a professional, I can say that suddenly, with the onset of social media and young people like you actually taking interest in it, and more people taking up psychology, it becoming a little more mainstream. There is a shift, and often that shift can kind of boom into, like, there's like this explosion of information, and not
Yeah.
all of it is responsible information dissemination, especially on a platform like social media like Instagram and Facebook. While people may be well intentioned, there is a lot being put out there which is blasphemous, to say the least. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not under the farce of mental health.
Right.
It can actually be very damaging to the receiver.
Yeah.
So it is I'm concerned about that, and I'm concerned because, absolutely, like you said, we are this entire global pandemic is like a global trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never use the word trauma loosely, but this, it quite literally is. It's a moment in time where we're not even understanding our how we are suffering through it, because we're
Yeah.
just having to adapt. And it takes me back to that surviving and not thriving. We are having to adapt. We are finding ways to carry on with life, but no one's at their optimal best.
Right.
And I mean, a lot of forums have talked about it, that we were already as a country in a very, very dire state as far as mental and emotional health is concerned.
Yeah.
And with the onset of this, there is a mental health pandemic, not just in India, globally, because all the other, I mean, one's coping mechanisms which were sailing us through till now have found themselves to be collapsing, and they're not
Yeah.
working anymore because we're having to sit with a lot that we're not used to. So
Yeah.
it is it's going to have, I definitely think that, I mean, it's also important to bring in the fact that the pandemic has brought in a lot of other social factors, like social, economic. People are losing jobs, so there is an economic crisis. Within our country, there is a lot happening socially and politically, and each of that impacts us. You can't, I mean, we don't
Yeah.
exist in a vacuum. And
Yeah.
especially young people like yourselves, you're part of a process where history is being changed. History is and not all the changes are pleasant,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's unlike anything we've known before time, our generation. So there is a lot happening altogether, and it's excessively overwhelming, to say the least.
Of course.
And all of it combined together is it can have all kinds of impacts on us, and who is to know when this will end. And it might end in the physical world, but in the psychological world, in the psychic world that we all have,
Yeah.
it could, I mean, there could be lurking anxieties, there could be lurking feelings of, due to, like, job losses, I mean, it's really gonna escalate into a lot more. It already has.
Right.
When the pandemic broke out, we don't have enough physical health workers. The mental health workers, at least I know, in this country is 1/100th of that. So it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
extremely, extremely worrisome. To I mean, that's the best way to put it.
Right. Right. So, when do you think that someone should reach out for professional help instead of just seeking help from their
Can't hear
peers?
you.
1 second. Hi, I'm so sorry, my Wi-Fi went.
No worries.
Yeah, yeah. So I was asking you, when do you think that someone must seek professional help? Because people have a long-standing history of just asking their friends or family members. When do you think it's serious enough?
Uh, I think when you start noticing that there are things that you could manage earlier and you're not being able to, and that you are feeling you're feeling like there's something not right, and you can't pinpoint an there are things which, I mean, you're finding yourself almost wanting to, I mean, you notice these changes in yourself which were not there earlier and have come on, and you're not understanding, getting a sense of them.
Yeah,
uh, I think it's actually more it's more the people around us who notice these changes, and
yeah,
because sometimes it becomes difficult to notice them in yourself. But when you do notice that, like I said, changes in sleeping and eating patterns, and in socialized, there is more social withdrawal than before.
yeah,
It's there are reactions, or what we often say, oh, why are you being so sensitive? Maybe a little bit of that irritability, sensitivity is disproportionate to the situation. It's out of it's a little aggravated than what it should be or
yeah,
might have been earlier. So these are the kind of changes to look out for. And especially with adolescents, changes even with an absolute, it can be an absolute emotional shut off from friends, from
right.
family, spending too much time by yourself. It could be a preference, but there's a very thin line between when it's a preference and when it becomes a little bit worrisome.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
and of course, then there are the more typical in the Indian school system. There is a change in grades.
yeah,
There's an absolute lack of interest in things that you used to like to do, but
right.
don't are unable to do anymore. So yeah, changes in moods. These are all markers of your mental health declining,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe you don't know it.
Right, of course. But like people around you can still notice and ask you
Yes,
regularly.
yes, yes. Your loved ones will always notice and may not always know how to point it out to you, but it's okay even for loved ones to, if they are noticing it, to even reach out that maybe I don't
Yeah,
know. Because and that is where the problem, I really believe that that's where the state or this revolution of mental health in India is, that the mental health literacy rates continue to be low. We don't know how to identify it.
yeah,
And that's why the stigma exists, because it's unlike physical health, where you have a broken leg to say, okay,
yeah,
suffering. It's all internal, and the only observable means what's going on is behavior. And we almost automatically, as a global phenomenon, we jump to judgment rather
yeah,
than
right.
really trying to find out, okay, what behind this.
Yeah,
So it's really important to shift from that sense of judgment to curiosity, that
yeah,
okay, this is happening, but why would it be happening? Why is it there? Instead of taking everything personally.
right. So how do you think we can make that shift, Because as you said, the first instinct is to jump to judgment. How do we change that?
Well, there are various ways of doing it, and there are so many psychologists I know who are already, organizations that are doing it. Like I used the term mental health literacy.
Yeah,
We are at alarmingly low rates about when it comes to understanding mental health problems. Mental health continues to be, this word mental is like it's got this negative connotation of
yeah,
mental.
yeah,
at that mental health refers to how your mind is, the way you think, the way you behave, the way you
Yeah,
are. And everybody has mental health. It's not someone who
exactly.
has an illness. It's an entire spectrum of health. I mean, health and wellness. And you
Yeah,
could be anywhere along that, and you could go into, because of certain stressors in life, because of certain genetic factors, you could be going into the towards the side of illness, but it can be prevented with early intervention. Or you could be already suffering from illness, but actually be, because you're taking help for it, you could actually on a daily basis have a good enough mental health. And
yeah,
that's a fact, as compared to someone who doesn't have help. So it's I really think that it's the organization, it's the community that needs to get together and commit itself to this cause of enhancing mental health literacy. Because
yeah,
when we're talking about how to support each other, like when you said how do we do it,
right.
it's about everyone taking on the, also part of this social system, this social system which
Yeah,
comes with its traditions, beliefs, class, caste. I mean, there are so many social systems, and within that,
yeah,
what is the context? So it's very important to consider the context, because when you are trying to create awareness about an individual mind, that individual mind has to be taken with the background of what is the larger group
right.
that impacts it, because the
Yeah,
individual is part of the group, and uh, the individual is impacting the group, and the group is impacting the individual. It's a two-way street.
right. Of course. Yeah,
So it's really about uh, educating the so-called educated people to begin with,
yeah,
right
yeah,
from mental health doctors to we can start right at the school level. I mean, we've only been studying psychology is offered as a special subject, which is of choice only in grade 11, and it should be
yeah,
part of your biology textbooks and science
yeah,
textbooks right
exactly.
when you start studying science, because
Right.
the mind and body are not some,
Separate. Yeah,
two separate entities. They're part of
yeah,
the same system.
exactly.
You can't understand one without the other. So as far as I'm concerned, we should be introducing, I mean, it should be right at the grassroots level, and educating our teachers and understanding what does this word mental health mean, that we have an emotional life that impacts how we transact with the world.
Right.
And it's creating the larger effect is that it creates enhanced and more self-aware community. And when we're acting out of a position of that, we're bound to have change.
Right. Right. So, Doctor, that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us again, and thank you for your time. It was very insightful.
Thank you, Ananya. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.